because the big story this hour is money that is walking away from high-tax states and moving into lower or no-tax states. Travis Brown is here. He wrote the book on this. $31 billion worth of income. That means middle-class, wealthier people, they're the ones who've moved out, taking that money with them.
And I love this chart. This is like my new Angry Birds. I could play with this at my desk for hours. It's just amazing what they put together here.
But what we know about career mobility today, now more than ever, is that people can and do move, and they do pursue those jobs and where their income is most welcome. You see $32 billion being bled out of California. Cumulative loss is quite substantial. The states in green here are benefiting at California's expense.
What are the highlights? What are the main things you learn?
Well, out of all 50 states, there are 9 that put a price of work at 0. That makes them very competitive compared to a basket of other states that have a high price on work. These are strong correlations that can be very specific to your county, to your state, to a state senate district, to a congressional district, and certainly to the performance and the understanding of any kind of governor's race out there. Florida shows $86 billion. That's a Florida minute in the last 15 years produces $10,000 of income more than it loses. So there's a really massive amount of change going on in Sunshine.
Between 1995 and 2010, millions of Americans have moved between states, taking with them over $2 trillion in adjusted gross income.
Travis, the book is terrific. I wish every governor, and more importantly, I wish every state legislator in the country would read this.
What we've tried to do outside is give you an act for economic freedom, to put that at the county level. I meet people every week who come up and say, your data is illustrated by my life. I have saved enough to put my kids through college.
The American Legislative Exchange Council, the emphasis should be on exchange of ideas. And that's right. What I think makes ALEC so unique, is that we exchange ideas very well across the 50 states. And you know more than anyone just how important the competition for capital is today, and exchanging ideas and what other states are doing. And so when you hear that Kansas just eliminated the small business income tax, a lot of state legislators are pretty surprised to find that. And then all of a sudden people say, if we don't start to take action, we fall behind just by standing still.
Well, give it up for Kansas. Yeah, that was well deserved. You know, it's a real pleasure to be the warm-up pitcher today for Dr. Art Laffer. I can't tell you, how inadequate I feel, unworthy. I mean, well, Stephen Moore is still here. He must be a Cubs fan. I feel more appreciative of this honor than being invited to go watch baseball in October in St. Louis if I was a Cubs fan. So, in all seriousness, it's a great honor to be joined with you today at ALEC, and to be here in this great city and to talk about the issues that we brought up just on that video. So if I can have the PowerPoint slides next, we'll jump through a few bells and whistles. It's hard to compete with Art Laffer, who's got all this stuff stuck just, waiting, busting to get out. But we like to talk a lot about this movement of income, and many of you have been involved the last 2 days plus talking about the different policies that have been working and those things that have not. What do all these faces on this board have in common? Sometime within the last 12 months, they've been a part of this story as well. Whether you're Phil Mickelson threatening to leave California, Gerard Depardieu, who did leave France, Nicolas Sarkozy, who started to run an investment property in the UK rather than France, Tiger Woods, who did announce the same day that Phil Mickelson, that's the reason why he left and became a Florida resident, or perhaps Tony Romo, who is the highest paid athlete in the National Football League, even though he didn't go to the Super Bowl because he lives in the state of Texas. Who's from Texas out there? Got anybody? We've got a few, all right. Well, easy to see what's going on there. LeBron James, the NBA Finals. In fact, both teams, not a single player in the NBA Finals this year paid a state income tax, either coming or going. And then you have, closer to my home, Rush Limbaugh with this picture in the Hall of Famous Missourians, who's also a Florida resident. We see this time and time again in our media and popular culture, but too often we still ignore those realities. However, that's not who we're here to represent. That's not the real story of why we must understand this data. It deals more with this picture, the lifetime earning potential of a new child, or let's say a graduate in the healthcare field who has a choice of staying in California or a choice in starting their healthcare field, which may have equal weight in Dallas, Texas. And when you look at the graphs, the lifetime earning potential of even 6%, with the price of work being lower in Dallas versus that in Los Angeles, equates to, with a 2% discount rate, over $400,000 and up to $800,000 or $900,000 over a 35-year life if you look at it deeper. So these numbers really do matter, and it's not a surprise to most of you that this phenomenon is occurring over and over again. In fact, we're talking about the movement of over 43 million Americans since our expanded data has become available from the Internal Revenue Service and the U.S. Census Bureau since we began this tour. Let's break that down by two examples before you on the screen. Cook County, Illinois, where we sit, has been losing $29.66 billion net of all people coming in versus all people going out. And then we're going to hear from the wisdom of a country music star a little bit later about how this works in common practice if you don't want to look at a bunch of charts and graphs. But what it means for Palm Beach County, Florida, is incredible as well. Over $14 billion cumulative, measuring state 1040 tax returns, your adjusted gross income based on your county and your state of residence. We now have the ability, thanks to the IRS, of making this actionable, searchable, and meaningful to your district and your debates. Let's break that down further, because a lot of people don't hold on to $14 billion unless you're the chairman of appropriations in your state. The next 60 seconds, on average, based on the look back of actual past performance of the movement of taxpayers voting with their feet and their pocketbook, results in these numbers. A New York minute now costs over $7,100. Start spreading the news. California, $4,700. Here in the land of Lincoln, over $3,000 a minute in the next 60 seconds. $1,900 a minute in the past performance of Ohio bleeding out. And Michigan, we all know. Story of Detroit will be alluded to earlier or later. And there's a lot of tragedy with these numbers, not only if you're from those states, but what it cost America not having you contributing to that state GDP growth to try to get us back closer to 4%. But on the flip side, people that are taking advantage of their mobility, not a surprise to see Florida, Governor Rick Scott, inheriting in this past 60 seconds $10,000 on average for the last 18 years. Texas doing very well, that for reasons that many of you know. And states without an income tax, the home of Dr. Art Laffer, Tennessee, the home of much in the tech company industry in Washington State, and even pound for pound, New Hampshire. Anyone from New Hampshire here? All right. So this incredible thing about New Hampshire is that you have the same number of people as the state of Maine. Maine has 3 times the landmass. Maine wants to follow your tax policy, and you have a larger state budget even in state government revenues as a result. These are incredible things when a state within New England, otherwise surrounded by higher tax regimes, can be producing $374 to their state every minute without a state income tax, without a state sales tax, and with really low local property taxation as a whole. As we know, and Dr. Art Laffer will be the judge on this, there are 9 states that put a price on work. That's what your state income tax is when others have it at 0 and you have it at something beyond 0. But an interesting factoid is that in the last 40 years, for congressional redistricting, not a single state with no personal income tax has lost a single congressional district. In fact, you can only find 2 within the last 100 years. So that's a good way to score out relative growth in what all of this can mean, whether you're in an area growing income and population or losing to it. These states, Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Kansas, we talked about, North Carolina we'll talk about further, New Mexico and Texas, even with the margins tax, all had significant substantial cuts this year. And this is fulfilling the prophecy seen by the Wall Street Journal of America's heartland tax rebellion. And on deck are even more. Missouri, Idaho, Nebraska, Maine, Colorado trying to defend against higher taxes, and Nevada doing the same. Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, Louisiana, New Jersey, all in the potential category. Folks, the price of work is changing within the states thanks to you and federalism. But we shouldn't be surprised that the price placed on work has an impact even when you look at other issues. This state, the land of Lincoln, last year chose to raise cigarettes $1 a pack, pretty substantial increase. And obviously looking for more revenue and probably also looking for less smoking. And in fact, you do see at least one of those things, but what is often missed in the report is that revenue enhancements that change personal behavior oftentimes, usually, fall short of producing the revenue that they forecasted for your state. And that's true already in the first year in Illinois, $100 million less, but you have to read down towards the bottom of the story. Now, for you, going home talking the language on your floor, why would we raise the price on work and not expect to see less of it? Why would it be any different than raising the price on cigarettes? So others are lowering that price of work. You have the governor of North Carolina. Who's from North Carolina? Got anybody here? A few. Major overhaul, first time reported in nearly 80 years, signed this week. You have other governors taking note of that. The Governor Walker to our north, looking at these $29 billion bleeding out of Illinois and saying, why don't you come to Milwaukee? And looking at a $650 million tax cut this year. Corporate income slash, anyone from New Mexico? No? We have corporate income slash there on tax rates for the first time in a long time. And then Governor Pence just over across the way here making a very substantial cut in Indiana. America, however, depends on you, just like your governors depend on you to deliver new statutes, new bills, new ideas. And so that's why we've tried to give you several calls to action today. In addition to the books that are available on your table, we want you to know that at howmoneywalks.com we have web mapping, all these tools that you can drill down to the county, to your city, to your state, and so that you can get all of that immediately available. We've also, in the last 2 days, partnered with ALEC to get your personal testimonials of your best successes and even some of your biggest challenges, whether you're dealing with holding taxes low in the case of Nevada, or whether you're looking at taxing rain in Maryland. Who's from Maryland here? We got a few from Maryland, and so there's big challenges to, if we're raising the price on rain, we know it's going to be cheaper in Pennsylvania. So we've done a number of these question and answer interviews. We hope to do a lot more. We hope that you'll see them available, made through ALEC and other partnerships and others that have joined this conference of all shapes and sizes. But we're very excited to give voice to your constituent interests and your success stories, and we think that's an important part of what we do. I want to leave you before the last pitch here of another way you can find this so that you're prepared on your House or Senate floor, or prepared with your constituents door to door. All of this is available on those applications, either on Droid or Apple products, and you can follow us there. We've had the privilege of having a front row seat to talk to your Americans across the country, from Sacramento to Naples, from Augusta, Maine to Minneapolis. We know that America does depend on you. And so with that, I know you'll get even more wisdom and literature from the brilliant mind that I have the privilege of introducing, who really, he might need a stepladder, but he doesn't need any introduction to ALEC here. So, but I'm going to give him a good one. From a country music star, also in Nashville. So let's roll the introduction recently from this fine gentleman.